August 2nd, 1980. A bomb hidden in a suitcase detonates in that packed waiting room. 85 people are killed, 200 more are wounded. For years, the official story pointed at lone extremists. Then, a decade later, an Italian Prime Minister stood in front of his own parliament and confirmed something far stranger. A secret NATO-linked network of hidden armies had existed across Western Europe since the 1950s, armed, trained, and never disbanded. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what that network was, what is actually documented about it, and where the evidence runs out and the theories begin. Welcome to Chronicle Zero, where we don't wait for permission to tell the story that matters. Every scene here is AI visualized, but every fact is real, built on official records. Full sources in the description. Stay to the end, because the line between what's proven and what's theory is the whole point. Here's what you need to know first. In 1990, Italian Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti made a stunning admission to the Italian Senate. He confirmed the existence of a clandestine paramilitary organization codenamed Gladio, the Italian word for sword. It had operated inside Italy since 1956, under the joint direction of Italian military intelligence and NATO's supreme headquarters Allied Powers Europe. Its stated purpose: if the Soviet Union ever invaded Western Europe, these hidden cells would form the backbone of a resistance movement, sabotage and guerrilla operations behind enemy lines, the way resistance fighters had done against Nazi occupation a decade earlier. This wasn't a theory. Andreotti's admission was on the record, and it triggered parliamentary investigations in Belgium, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and beyond. What they found was consistent. Nearly every NATO member in Western Europe had built its own version of this stay-behind network. Weapons caches were buried in forests and fields, rifles, explosives, radio equipment, sealed in waterproof containers and left underground for decades, tended by a small number of vetted operatives, who reported to national military intelligence services with CIA and MI6 coordination behind them. For the first 3 decades of the Cold War, this stayed almost entirely secret, from national parliaments, from the public, and reportedly from most of each country's own government. A handful of top military and intelligence officials knew. Elected leaders, in many cases, did not. Documents that later surfaced showed the CIA had helped fund and train these networks from the earliest years, working alongside Britain's MI6 and each host country's military intelligence. The coordination ran through NATO's Clandestine Planning Committee and a linked Allied Clandestine Committee. That coordination is not disputed. It is documented in NATO's own released records and in the parliamentary testimony that followed Andreotti's disclosure. France ran a version reportedly codenamed Plan Bleu, though French authorities released far less than Italy or Belgium. Portugal, Spain, Greece, and West Germany all had their own structures. In November 1990, the European Parliament passed a formal resolution condemning the secrecy and calling for full investigations in every member state. That resolution is public record. It alleged something significant for a democracy: that armed, foreign coordinated structures had operated on European soil for over 30 years without meaningful oversight from the elected governments nominally in charge. That's the documented part. Now here's where the theory begins, and where this gets genuinely contested. Italy in the 1960s and 70s lived through what historians call the years of lead, relentless political violence that killed hundreds. The Bologna Bombing was the deadliest single attack of that era. Italian investigators pursued a theory known as the strategy of tension, the idea that elements connected to Gladio, or to far-right groups tied to it, deliberately carried out or enabled terrorism, then let blame fall on left-wing groups, to frighten the public away from communist gains at the ballot box and keep opinion anchored to NATO and Washington. Here you have to be careful, because the evidence for different pieces of this is not uniform. Some elements are well documented. Italian courts convicted members of the far-right group Nuclei Armati Rivoluzionari for the Bologna bombing, and later trials extended culpability toward individuals with historical links to Italian intelligence. Vincenzo Vinciguerra, a convicted right-wing terrorist, testified openly that the strategy of tension was real and that his own attack was meant to push Italy toward a more authoritarian, anti-communist order, testimony that remains public record. But direct, unbroken documentary proof that Gladio's official command ordered specific bombings is not something historians agree exists. What's proven? The network's existence, its NATO and CIA architecture, its decades of secrecy, and that some individuals tied to it were convicted of or linked to terrorism. What remains disputed is how centrally coordinated the violence was, versus how much came from rogue far-right cells operating adjacent to the network rather than under its orders. Other countries tell smaller but similar stories. In Belgium, a parliamentary commission investigated whether elements of its network, SDRA8, had any relationship to the unsolved Brabant killings, supermarket shootings in the 1980s that killed 28 people. No definitive link was proven, but the commission criticized the network for a near-total absence of civilian oversight and record-keeping, so poor investigators couldn't confirm a complete list of its own members. In Switzerland, the network P26 was exposed in 1990, and investigators concluded it had operated outside legitimate oversight, a scandal that contributed to a government minister's resignation. Why did this stay hidden for over 30 years? Stay-behind networks were designed for exactly that secrecy. Compartmentalization meant operatives often didn't know who else was in the network, or which office ran it. Host nations generally didn't inform incoming heads of state, on the theory that a network meant to survive foreign occupation couldn't risk exposure through ordinary political transitions. The Cold War ended. Most networks were dissolved in the early 1990s once exposed, their caches recovered, the Soviet invasion justification gone. What was left wasn't a tidy resolution. It was a documented fact. Dozens of secret armies really existed, coordinated at a NATO level, hidden for a generation, sitting next to an unresolved argument about how much unexplained violence they were actually responsible for. That distinction matters. The existence of Operation Gladio is not a conspiracy theory. It's confirmed, on the parliamentary record, by the governments that ran it. The claim that its command directly orchestrated specific attacks to manipulate elections is a theory, a serious one, supported by some testimony and court findings, but not something every historian or court has concluded beyond doubt. Both can be true at once, and conflating them is exactly how these stories get distorted. So, the next time someone tells you the Cold War was only fought with tanks and treaties, remember Bologna. Remember Andreotti standing before the Italian Senate, and remember that some of the 20th century's most consequential secrets were kept not by hiding what existed, but by making sure nobody with the authority to ask ever knew to ask the question. What do you think actually happened at Bologna? Tell us in the comments. And if this is the kind of story mainstream history skips over, subscribe to Chronicle Zero. We go where the official record ends and show you exactly where